Okay, I think there are a few folks kind of trickling in through the waiting room, but it is now 7:03 according to my clock. So we will go ahead and get started. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to the University of Maryland Alumni Association and Student Alumni Leadership Council, otherwise known as SALC's, third annual Terps Under 30 event. My name is Jessica Lee, and I am the Program Manager for Student and Recent Graduate Engagement at your Alumni Association. It is our vision to be the heart of the university, inspiring lifelong connections with a global network of Maryland alumni. To achieve this vision, we host over 500 events annually for our 388,000 alumni and the 40,000 plus current students. And this past year, we have had the added challenge of doing this all virtually. In addition to our events, we have a variety of programs that help to connect current students with their alumni. An example of this is the Terrapins Connect mentorship platform, where students and alumni are able to connect with alumni based on their major, career field, or other experiences. If you are not currently signed up as a mentee, or if you are interested in mentoring a current student as an alum, please check it out. And you can see that Emily has posted the direct link to Terrapins Connect in the chat. We are so glad that you are here with us virtually tonight to network with and learn from some amazing Terps. I challenge all of you to walk away tonight with one idea that you can immediately use and a connection that you made. Thank you again for being with us here this evening, and please join me in welcoming Stephen Ioannidis, current junior at the University of Maryland, majoring in supply chain management, who is also serving as this year's Terps Under 30 chair for the Student Alumni Leadership Council.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Ioannidis, and I'm thrilled to be moderating tonight's event. We're super excited for you to hear from our outstanding Terp alumni speakers in just another couple of minutes. But before we begin, I want to remind all attendees of some important logistical information for this evening. First, you should be muted during the speakers' talks, but feel free to leave your camera on. Please keep in mind, though, that this event will be recorded and will be made available on the Alumni Association's YouTube channel after the event. During the first half of the event, we'll hear some TED Talk style presentations from Jared Brown, who earned his Master's of Professional Studies in 2019, Candice Carrell, who earned a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science and is part of the class of 2016, and Evan Lutz, who earned his Bachelor's in Business Management and is a graduate of the class of 2014. After their talks, there will be an opportunity to stay and network with the speakers using Zoom's Pick a Breakout Room feature. That portion of the event will allow you as participants to select your breakout rooms and chat with our speakers. Please feel free to use the chat function to introduce yourself, make comments on the speakers' presentations, and ask any questions. While there won't be time for our speakers to answer your questions immediately after their talk, SALC members will be recording some of your questions for the facilitated networking session. So please send them in the chat if you're afraid of forgetting them later. And on that note, I'm super excited to introduce our first speaker for the evening, Jared Brown. Jared completed his bachelor's in African American Studies from the University of Virginia and received his master's in professional studies in technology entrepreneurship at UMD in 2019. Prior to his current role as Associate Manager for Politics and Government Outreach with Facebook, Jared was a former associate at the My Brother's Keeper Alliance at the Obama Foundation. Additionally, he has worked for the United Negro College Fund, a philanthropic organization that provides scholarships for Black students in historically Black colleges and universities. I'll now turn it over to Jared to share his talk with you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen, and hello, everyone. As Stephen mentioned, I'm Jared Brown. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to sharing more about my fearless idea. So I was raised by my grandmother, grew up in a small town in Central Virginia where everyone knows everyone. Few people leave, actually. And as a young person, I was very intellectually curious, very sort of eager to learn about the world beyond my immediate surroundings. And everything from people and places to systems and social norms sort of sparked my interest. And engaging in conversations, especially with elders, helped me sort of expand my understanding of the world around me and envision a life outside of my small town. So I graduated at the top of my high school class. I attended the University of Virginia for college, which is located in Charlottesville, Virginia. And the university, oddly, is sort of at the center of the national conversation about race and inequality, following the Unite the Right rally in 2017, where thousands of white supremacists rallied to protest the removal of the Robert E. Lee Confederate statue. And when I first enrolled at UVA in 2009, I always imagined that I would be a successful corporate lawyer one day. And although I excelled academically in that environment and was well on my way to a fulfilling career, I struggled to cope with my identity as a gay Black man. I remember in particular reading the work of Black feminist scholars as an African-American studies major and feeling inspired to begin the process of self-acceptance and personal discovery. And actually decided during my freshman year that it was finally time for me to come out as gay to the people that I loved most. And in a moment of inspiration, I called up a relative to share what I thought was very liberating news, but it didn't go well. And the harsh response was difficult to hear, very difficult to process the negativity during that call. And to be honest, the response still sort of stings to this day. And this happened over 11 years ago. But I think what's important to note here is that, after that call, I think a part of me sort of closed off from other people. I was regularly engaging in binge drinking to sort of cope with the emotional pain and trauma of the rejection that I experienced. And one night, after a binge drinking episode at a fraternity house, I got pretty intoxicated. I blacked out, got in a fight at the bus stop, and woke up the next day in a jail cell. So, waking up in a jail cell sort of radically changed my life and my vision for the future. And, in a lot of ways is a defining moment that has sort of informed my fearless idea, which is that all young people, including boys and young men of color, should grow up in forgiving environments and be afforded second chances in life. So the experience of going to jail sort of changed the course of my life. I ended up spending 2 weeks in jail. This was in July 2010, between the summer of my first and second year in college. And I returned to school the following August, which was, to be honest, truly remarkable considering the way in which this was a pretty traumatic experience for me personally. But I just remember sort of feeling the weight of this idea that, in a lot of ways I had every strike against me, being Black, gay, from a low income background, also having a criminal record. So, in hindsight, I'm especially grateful to the university community, especially the professors, the student service professionals, even the counselors on campus, for creating a welcoming and supportive environment for me after the incident. In many ways, I think that I was insulated from some of the more harsh outcomes of involvement in the justice system because there was such a strong support system at the university. So just to share a little bit more context here, I was really close with the deans in the Office of African American Affairs at UVA, and they not only served as character witnesses during my criminal proceedings, during which they sort of advocated for a reduced sentence, but they also offered conflict mediation to sort of help me resolve the issue of my sexuality with my immediate family, which also then created space for me to come out to my extended family and my extended network, which was, absolutely transformative for me personally. I also received therapy from a Black gay counselor on campus. And he was really helpful in terms of helping me navigate my new normal as an openly gay Black man. And, just a few other sort of tangible things to mention. So one, I also had secure on-campus housing. So we know that access to secure housing, especially for young people that have been expelled by their families, young LGBTQ people have been expelled by their families, is oftentimes a big issue. So having a safe space to heal and rest was absolutely critical. And then finally, sort of being offered an on-campus job. So I was working at the time for the Center for Survey Research on campus. And, you know, I got lucky because they didn't run a background check on me because I was a student, which gave me an opportunity to gain that professional work experience immediately after my arrest. And also to sort of avoid some of the more exclusionary practices that do happen, unfortunately, in the private sector, especially for folks that are sort of recently incarcerated or recently leaving incarceration. So I'd say that, you know, I've learned from this experience, you know, two things that are currently shaping my career. So the first is that, you know, the support and resources of a university can really help formerly incarcerated young people not only gain credentials, which are important, but also, you know, find stable housing, get the wraparound counseling support that they need, even work experience, especially during the critical phases immediately post-incarceration. And two, what I've learned is that for many boys and young men of color, one bad decision can radically change the trajectory of our lives. So we have a lot of work to do at the systemic level, you know, working with both policymakers and employers to ensure that formerly incarcerated young people, especially young people of color, are afforded second chances in life. Which is ultimately what inspired me to join the MBK Alliance team at the Obama Foundation back in 2017. So President Obama launched the My Brother's Keeper Community Challenge after Trayvon Martin was shot to address opportunity gaps facing boys and young men of color in 2014. And when the Obama Foundation launched this initiative, or rather when the Obama administration launched this initiative, you know, it was always something that I saw as being like deeply inspirational, but also deeply personal insofar as being able to see the tangible changes that were being made in the lives of young people. So while I was at the Obama Foundation, I was able to launch and scale our MBK network, which is basically a community of learning and practice for local leaders who are working to create second chances for boys and young men of color. And to date, we've had more than 500 leaders at the local level in all 50 states who serve about 38 million boys and young men of color across the country who've directly benefited from the training and support of that network. And all of whom are sort of working to create those second chances and make sure that boys and young men of color are able to reach their full potential. So in my role there, I was always really inspired by just community leaders making changes, and particularly inspired by the work that was happening in Yonkers, New York. So Yonkers, New York was actually considered one of the safest cities in America in 2019. And this is after sort of 8 years of work through the MBK program in that community, seeing a 42% reduction in crime. Again, sort of driving home this idea, improving the effectiveness of second chance policies and community policing and outreach efforts. So watching the community transform from, you know, one of the least safe communities to one of the safest communities in the country, by adopting those policies, by ensuring second chances. It's been very inspiring to me. And it's also shown that, you know, when police unite with the community to prioritize second chances, that, you know, that's when we're really able to build real trust. That's when we're able to develop real solutions and ultimately able to produce real change. So I'd say that, you know, just, you know, to wrap this up, that, you know, for me, you know, I feel like my personal journey from basically a jail cell to the Obama Foundation, and now to Facebook, which is one of the largest social media companies in the world. You know, it just demonstrates that when formerly incarcerated young people, you know, receive the education, the training, and sometimes the treatment that they need in order to tap into second chances, that they really do have an opportunity to make a positive impact in our world as adults. And, you know, the fearless idea is that, you know, all of us as caring and compassionate adults have a role to play there, to ensuring that those pathways to success do exist. Especially for young people who, you know, may have made mistakes and who might otherwise fall through the cracks. So that's my fearless idea. And thank you guys for hearing me out.
Awesome. Thank you, Jared, for sharing your inspiring story with all of us. Our next speaker is going to be Candice Carrell. She graduated from UMD with a bachelor's degree in computer science in 2016. During her undergrad years, she was a member of the Maryland dance team, and she is currently a senior software engineering consultant at Ernst & Young. She was a cheerleader and captain for the Washington football team of the NFL and was named one of the top 10 NFL cheerleaders in 2017 by USA Today and was voted to be a Pro Bowl cheerleader in 2019. Please join me in welcoming Candice to give her talk.
Hi everyone, how are you guys? Can everyone hear me good? You can give a thumbs up or an emoji, I'll settle for that. Thank you so much for such an awesome introduction, Stephen, and for Terps Under 30 for inviting me back. I'm so excited to be here, and it's always an honor to be back with the University of Maryland because this is where I started. I'm going to share my screen so we can have the presentation and get going. Awesome. Let's go ahead and put this in presentation mode. So that's me. Again, my name is Candice Carrell. I graduated from the University of Maryland in 2016, and I am now a senior software engineer for Ernst & Young. And I'm actually a former captain and cheerleader for the NFL Washington football team in the Pro Bowl, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'm born and raised and educated and currently reside in Prince George's County, Maryland, where the University of Maryland is. I grew up in private school all of my life. I graduated from Grace Brethren Christian School in high school, which is a private, really small Christian school in PG County in Clinton. And then went on to study computer science at the University of Maryland. I actually have a pretty unique experience with technology and engineering because I had absolutely no experience and no background prior to taking my first computer science 131 course at UMD. I was really inspired to study computer science, however, ironically from MySpace. In approximately my high school years, maybe like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, very early high school, MySpace was hot. I don't know if people still remember that. But the way to customize your MySpace page was to use HTML code. And that's what I was really interested in. And I thought I was, super cool coding. I thought this was computer science. I later found out that it's not, but it was something that interested me. And also it really helped that my father is a senior software engineer as well. And he also graduated from the computer science program at the University of Maryland. So I was really excited to try this new thing. And see where it would take me. I had a natural aptitude for math, so I figured this would be a good fit. I also grew up as a dancer. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. I studied dance all over the country. I actually studied dance at the Debbie Allen Dance Academy in Los Angeles, California, where I stayed for a whole summer when I was just 15 years old. So I was really passionate about that. That also became something that I really wanted to take further in life. So I found myself my late high school years and early college wanting to do two very different things at a professional level. But I found that it was a really difficult way to navigate that career path. And so I found the opportunity of cheering for the NFL as something that I can do while also working professionally. And I knew that I kind of had to get a little more game day experience. And so I auditioned for the Maryland dance team my freshman year and was able to make it. And I cheered for 4 football seasons and 3 basketball seasons. The last basketball season of my senior year, that's when I auditioned for the NFL, and I made it as a cheerleader for the Washington football team. I have this little imagery of Stack Overflow because I wanted to give props where props is due. Stack Overflow I attribute to a lot of my success in college and also my work. I was like, how do I capture my professional career with technology in one little image? And I figured the easiest way to do that, because I've had a few jobs in my engineering career, is Stack Overflow. Jobs change over the years, but Stack Overflow has always been consistently great for me. So I had to give props where props is due here. This is me when I went to the University of Maryland. like I said, I was on the Maryland dance team. I got my degree, did all that. I had to capture this really special photo right here. This is me. And I don't know if you guys can tell who the back of this head is. This is President or former President Barack Obama and current President Joe Biden right here. University of Maryland was my dream school and always have been. I've been raised by two Terps. My father was a Terp and my mother also went to the University of Maryland. So I grew up really aspiring to be a Terp myself, and my dream came true in 2012. And I also had a lot of other dreams come true when, you know, for example, this image right here, I got the opportunity to dance for former President Barack Obama's second inauguration. So I had to capture that and just kind of have my little bragging moment right here, cheesing cheek to cheek with former President Barack Obama and current President Joe Biden right there. In 2019, I had another honor of being recognized by the university as one of their 30 under 30. This came as a complete surprise, and I was super, super honored to be recognized as such last year and to be in a class of such accomplished and talented individuals that came from the University of Maryland. I'm still very well connected and appreciative of the university, obviously, and so I really wanted to kind of capture that experience in this slide right here. The next is another aspect of my life that I'm super proud of. I cheered for the Washington football team from 2016 to 2021. So I just recently retired. I was able to cheer for 5 seasons, 2 of which I served as a captain of the team. I've been recognized by many publications and awards and by the NFL itself, especially here at the 2019 Pro Bowl. I'm going to brag a little bit. I don't know if people realize that the NFL does recognize cheerleaders as Pro Bowl representatives. And in fact, they only send 1 cheerleader from each NFL club each year. And the Washington football team saw me fit to represent them in 2019. So that's something that I'm especially grateful for and very blessed to have accomplished. Next is a list of all of my employers that I've been working on in my professional career as an engineer. I started out as a summer intern at Booz Allen Hamilton, where I created my first ever app from design to development and then pushing to the iOS App Store. I then took my first offer with them to work as a junior developer for Booz Allen for about 2.5 years. Decided I wanted something a little different, something a little smaller, because Booz Allen is a pretty big consulting company. I then joined Sela Solution Group, which is in Arlington, Virginia, which is a consulting company as well. For a pretty similar experience there, I did software engineering and consulting for multiple federal government agencies. In late 2019, Sela was actually acquired by Ernst & Young. So I found myself back at a pretty large consulting firm. Now I have been elevated to being a senior software engineer, which is now what I do at this moment. I still work supporting and writing code for federal government contracts. So that's me in my professional career. I want to highlight the fact that I, again, am still in the same position that I found myself when I was at that late high school, early college point in my life, where I had these 2 career paths that I was very passionate and very talented in, and I wasn't sure how to do both. But as the years went on, I found myself discovering that being an engineer makes me a better dancer and cheerleader, and being a cheerleader and being a leader on the NFL field makes me a better engineer as well. And so I wanted to kind of really bring light to the fact that, hey, I am a Black woman, a young Black woman that's in 2 very different spaces that are both male dominated, and in finding my way and successful in both. And I am growing passionate about raising a community of other young women and showing them that not only you can just be an engineer, not only that you can be successful in the NFL or NBA or just sports in general, you can do both, whatever your both is. Even in marginalized industries, you can be successful and also find a way to make both of those things in your life come together and thrive. For example, I volunteer at these 2 very special nonprofits, the first of which is Black Girls Code, which is a nonprofit that is created to train women as young as 8 years old to the age of 18 and get them coding on young Saturdays, coding them young on Saturday mornings and teaching them the kind of basic skill sets of software engineering. Again, back when I was even in high school, I didn't have the opportunities to learn about coding or software engineering. I wasn't sure about what any of that was. Again, I thought coding was creating spaces, creating pages on MySpace. And that just all comes with access. I didn't have that access, even though I came from a pretty good community and a pretty good school. So nonprofits like Black Girls Code has become something that's increasingly passionate of mine, because that's a way for me to give back to the next generation of young Black engineers or young Black cheerleaders or young Black engineers and cheerleaders. Also, I volunteer at this other nonprofit called Science Cheerleaders, which is a little different. It's a nonprofit composed of current and former NFL, NBA, and NHL cheerleaders, basically pro cheerleaders from all sports industries that also have STEM careers. We go and we volunteer at other events. We partner events like Black Girls Code and other science conventions, just to kind of bring awareness that we exist and to also normalize women and women with other career paths in STEM. I think that it's really important as a Black woman in STEM and also a Black woman in the NFL to show both industries that we exist and we thrive and that we look like this or we look like me. I feel like there's a stereotype of what cheerleaders look like and what they act like and what they do. And there's also equally a stereotype with what women in engineering look like and how they act like and what they do. And so I feel like the importance of science cheerleaders is to kind of bring awareness that those stereotypes don't exist and in fact are dangerous to both industries on both ends. So these are two nonprofits that I volunteer with. Feel free to take a look at these websites and get involved on your own. Again, this is something that I'm passionate about because it starts to change these two male dominated industries and how they view the next generation of women. Sorry, it's my dog. So yeah, that's me. I am now that I recently retired from cheering with the Redskins, or cheering with the Washington football team, I'm sorry. I now teach dance 3 to 4 times a week. So I'm still doing my 2 passions. I'm still working as a senior software engineer and I teach dance 3 to 4 times a week in the Washington, D.C. area at various dance studios. If you are a little more interested in what I do, I am on LinkedIn at Candice Carrell. Feel free to add me, message me. I'm a completely open book about all of my experiences, and I'm very much so an advocate of women, people of color, especially in the industries that I'm in. I'm also on Instagram at Candice C. I'm on Twitter at FirstLady_Candice. And if you guys have any questions at all or any other inquiries, feel free to email me at CandiceCarrell@gmail.com. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. So yes, again, I'm so grateful to be back here with the University of Maryland. I always answer the call when the University of Maryland answers because they gave me this opportunity, this platform to, again, tell my story and tell stories like this and to show my fearless ideas of being both and to show other people, women, men, people of color, that you can do both and be successful. So thank you so much for having me. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me and I would love to chat with you guys in the breakout rooms coming up.
Great, thank you so much, Candice. To close out the presentation portion of tonight's event, our final speaker is Evan Lutz from the class of 2014. Evan graduated from the University of Maryland with a bachelor's degree in business management. While at UMD, he was a brother of Alpha Epsilon Pi and a member of Terps Under and the University Student Judiciary, to name just a few of his involvements. Evan is now the founder and CEO of produce delivery service Hungry Harvest and appeared on Shark Tank, a business-oriented reality TV show featuring aspiring entrepreneurs. Hungry Harvest recovers surplus fruits and vegetables and assembles them into grocery delivery boxes to help combat America's massive food distribution issues. Hungry Harvest has been featured in several major publications, including NPR, USA Today, and the Washington Post. But I'll turn it over to Evan for his talk and to share a little bit more with you all.
Thanks, Stephen. Jared and Candice, everybody's getting their money worth today because you guys had inspiring stories. I don't know about me, but you guys like amped me up. That's really incredible what you guys are doing. And I really appreciate you guys sharing. Hello, everyone. Hello, fellow Terps. I am one of 11 Terps in my family, both my parents, aunts, uncles, my wife, and even my grandma. My grandma was a engineering major back in 1955 when she graduated the University of Maryland. So probably one of the first female engineering majors. I don't know. I don't know facts about that, but I can imagine she was one of the few. So she's super inspiring, and this has been in my family for 3 generations now. And my kids, if they choose to go to college, they're going to go to Maryland, or they'll pay their way. So they're probably going to go to Maryland. Just my little joke. I can't see if anybody's laughing, but hopefully you guys are. So I am very excited to share a little bit about my story, about my backgrounds, and what inspires me. I don't have any slides. I'm just hoping my energy can, protrude through the screen, and hopefully we can all get back in person one day and share the same room. I am very inspired by this idea of mortality. So stick with me here. I'm going a little bit down the rabbit hole, but I promise we're gonna come out on top. Okay. I heard this idea about mortality when I was like 12 or 13 years old. It was actually from a sermon that my rabbi gave on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the year for Jews, and he was talking about how we have one life to live. What is the choice that we're going to make while we're here to try and make this world a better place? And so I thought about that idea when I was 12 or 13 years old. So I decided that I didn't really know what medium I wanted to choose, but I wanted to devote my life towards making a better planet, right? I didn't really know what that was going to be. I grew up in a super fortunate, privileged household. I never went hungry. I had meals on the table every single night. I was always very fortunate to eat healthy as well. And I did a lot of volunteering when I was growing up. I volunteered at a lot of different soup kitchens and food banks. And I realized the massive disparity between people that lived in my neighborhood and people that lived down the street, of the disparity between what we were able to eat, right? And the quality of food that was being served. And I thought that was something really rubbed me the wrong way. Again, this was when I'm 13, 14 years old. So I couldn't really process all of this, but I figured I didn't understand why, right? And then the second thing I started to learn about was climate change and the environment. And I started to understand that the climate crisis that we're in today is really serious. It's the most serious crisis that humanity has ever faced. And as I started to do more research and get more passionate about it and get involved in a lot of clubs in high school and in college, I decided that the way I was going to make this change was going to be through business. I was really passionate about entrepreneurship. I think business is a very powerful vehicle to use for change, even more powerful than government, than nonprofit, than religion. I mean, there's power in a lot of those organizations, but I wanted to use my passion in entrepreneurship. And so when I was a senior at Maryland, I took a class where we actually had to start a business called the Social Innovation Fellows out of the business school. So I studied business there. And one of the ideas that I had heard was a local farmer had surplus produce that I had no idea what it was, but he said it was perfectly fine, it was edible, it was fresh, but he couldn't sell it to his normal retail customers. So I set up a little farm stand outside of our student union, sold 5-pound bags for $5 back in 2014. If anybody was a student back then, you saw some crazy kids selling 5-pound bags of produce for $5 in that little square. That was me. The first week we had like $20, 20 students. I got $100 in revenue, and the next week it was 50 students. By the end of the semester, the spring semester, we had 2 interns, we had 10 volunteers, we had 500 customers per week. And I started doing more research and realized that food waste is a huge issue in terms of climate change. If food waste were a country, it'd be the 3rd largest producer of greenhouse gases behind the United States and China. And so I thought there was really an opportunity here to reduce food waste straight from the farms, because this produce was perfectly fresh. It was delicious. I couldn't tell the difference between any of it as an untrained consumer. There's a huge opportunity to actually donate a portion of our a portion of our produce that we procured every week to local nonprofits in the area, and a huge opportunity to make a brand around produce, because I realized that in the grocery industry, people generally hate going to the grocery store. There are very few that I like going. So what if we could make that shopping experience really easy, really online, and put a very solid brand behind it? And that's when I started Hungry Harvest. And so today we've reduced about 30 million pounds of produce from going to waste. We've delivered millions of boxes across the East Coast. Our team is about 100 folks. And I say this because I think we've been moderately successful to date. We've obviously got a long way to go in towards changing the climate and changing the food system and really reducing waste. And just a quick plug, if anybody's interested, you can sign up online at hungryharvest.net. If you're interested in working for Hungry Harvest, we have a careers page and you can check out all our jobs, or shoot me an email or shoot me a LinkedIn note. Just a quick plug about Hungry Harvest. But I want to get back to something that's I think is more important, is back to that first question of like, what are we choosing to do in the years that we have on this earth? And I think Hungry Harvest for me it's my baby, it's my passion project. It's what I'm choosing to do to try and make a positive impact on this planet. I knew absolutely nothing when I got started, right? One of my goals in life isn't just to make a change through business. It's also to inspire other people to start their own businesses and get into entrepreneurship. As I mentioned, I think business and entrepreneurship is one of the most powerful vehicles to make change on the planet. Certainly not the only one, but I think it is very powerful. And entrepreneurship is approachable. I was a 21-year-old idiot when I started this business. I didn't know anything about management, about logistics, about marketing, about produce, procurement, anything like that. All I knew is that I wanted to give this a try. I was very passionate about this, and there was a huge opportunity that was in front of me. I learned everything else along the way. And so I think when we really, in our society, we put entrepreneurs sort of on a pedestal, right? We think like they're this upper class of humans on this, out of our society. And really, that's not the case. I am a perfectly normal individual. I am not any kind of special. I promise you, my IQ is very, very even. All I am is very passionate. I'm very, very passionate, and I'm very willing to learn and very willing to fail. And I think that the willingness to take that first step and take that first leap has allowed me to grow this business from scratch as a senior in college, and can continue to do this over the past 7 years and make a lot of impact. So my last message to everyone today before we hop into breakout is, if you have any questions about entrepreneurship or starting your own business, feel free to shoot me an email or talk to me in the breakout room. But I promise you, it is more approachable. It is more doable than you think. And it is just about, everybody in their own work lives. Everybody has problems to solve. And that's what we do, no matter if you're an engineer, if you're in human resources, if you're the leader of a nonprofit, doesn't matter what you do. If you're a chef, all you do is solve problems every day. Entrepreneurship is no different than that. The stakes are a little bit higher, but after after you get started, you can really kind of take some of that pressure off you and lean into the failure that entrepreneurship defines every single day. So that's my spiel for everybody. I'm really looking forward to talking to everybody in the breakout rooms, and go Terps.
Awesome. Thank you, Evan. And thank you to all of our fabulous speakers for sharing their stories and fearless ideas with us tonight. Let's please give them all a Zoom round of applause using the emoji reactions if you can. Now we'll be moving on to the facilitated networking portion of the event. On the screen, you'll see that there's a breakout room for each of our 3 speakers. If you'd like to speak to Jared, please select the first breakout room. If you have any questions for Candice, please select breakout room 2. And if you'd like to connect more with Evan, you can select breakout room 3. All of the breakout rooms are labeled, and you're not locked into the room you pick, so please feel free to move throughout each of them and get to know each of our speakers a little bit more. If you have any issues selecting your breakout room or aren't able to do so if you don't have the updated version of Zoom, please stay in this main session and one of our moderators will help place you into a room. At around 8:05, we'll bring everyone back into this main session to wrap up tonight's event. And those should be set up now. So please feel free to join the room that you'd like.
think everyone is.
Great. Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to once again thank Jared, Candice, and Evan for their inspiring talks and willingness to connect with all of tonight's attendees. Let's give them one more last Zoom round of applause. And you all serve as great examples for your fellow Terps to follow. Thank you to everyone in the audience for helping make tonight's event a success by being here. And I think I speak for everyone from the Student Alumni Leadership Council and the Alumni Association when I say we're very grateful for your participation in this year's Terps Under 30 event. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good night and go Terps.
Thank you. And then if speakers are able, oh, did Jared